The following podcast is rated G for gammon. Please be aware it may contain some coarse language and is not suitable for children or gammon audiences.
Sensual. Sensual. Sensual.
Oh yeah. Episode 2 for 2025. I had to just remember what year we're in, Agus. What the heck? It's almost February,
We are getting
bro.
old. It is.
You're
We're
getting old. How dare you?
I am getting old. I'm okay with that.
Anyway, them yarns. What's going on, brother? Post January 26th.
I know. It does feel like the year has already happened, but it's only end of January. So, you know, it's been a lot, but you know, that's why we're here to yarn about it, I guess.
How was the sunny coast? Tell us about Invasion Day up there, Survival Day.
It was deadly. We had a bit of a crowd this year. We were a bit worried as it looked like it was going to rain up here in Gubby Gubby country, and then old people looked after us and made it a bit cool for the march. And then we got there and it was hot as by the time we were leaving. So all melanin challenged people were getting burnt and we were getting out of there to go home. So it was perfect timing for us, but really deadly day. It's a lot less political. It's still political, but it's a lot less than that political side up on the sunny coast. It is still pretty conservative place, but you know, we marched, we got some interesting reactions, and everybody had a deadly day.
Do you have is it there a park or something that you go to afterwards? Like what happens after the rally and the march?
Yeah, so we marched to Cotton Tree Park. We marched from a council building along the street and end up at Cotton Tree Park. So we're walking literally through Australia Day parties to get to the Cotton Tree, like the biggest area in the middle of Cotton Tree. There's all Australian flags around us and we're just there speeching, dancing, whatever.
Yeah.
And half the time, yeah, it's crazy. Like people actually like it. They're there with their Australian flags and they're like, oh, this is deadly.
Okay.
You're like, what are you doing?
What's going on? This is not normal. In Brisbane this year, it was, I have to say, as someone who's been here for, 13, 14 years now, this was probably one of the smaller crowds that I'd seen in so many years. I don't know I don't know why that was. Was it because it was a Sunday? Was it because it was hot? That can't be the reason, because Murray's and we chant and walk in
We're
the
used to
friggin'
it.
heat, right, every year. So it was quiet. It was, I don't know, the crowd seemed to just be different this year. A lot of pro-Palestinian supporters, a lot of allies, a lot of mob, but I was like, where's the mob? You know what I mean? And I don't know if it was because we were down the back or for the march we were kind of up the front. I don't know. It just didn't seem as loud as it usually is. It was very quiet. It was very I think it maybe is just because it's a reflection of society right now, yeah, and what we were talking about the other week on the episode. So, but nevertheless, it was still deadly. You know, I don't think I realised till I got to Musgrave Park, and I did a bit of a time lapse of everyone walking through, and there was a whole lot of people. But I think when you've been here for years and years and you've seen how big it can get, and then if you see a drop in the numbers, you're like, oh, that's quiet, but it's actually not. You know, it's still a big.
It's crazy. It's still one of the biggest marches.
Yeah, it's
for
hectic.
anything. That's the thing that these people talk about marching. Blackfellas and allies show up for more than anything else. People in unions have good marches, but they're literally being paid to be there. They're fighting for pay. We're getting there for free, and we're showing up in numbers that nobody else can get. You know, these gammon, all these other little gammon marches. There's a few hundred people there in Brisbane, and then the engine, and then it's 10,000 people, and that's numbers are going down.
Yeah. Yeah. True, right? I want to just give a shout out to the Water Carrying Alliance in Brisbane.
Yeah, love them.
We
love
have
you.
them?
Thank you.
Do you have
we do.
them?
Yeah. We'll do it. Thank you.
Bless. I always look and I'm like, there's not a damn black fella that's going to carry that water. So you know what? I praise you, mob. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. We would die. We would literally, some of us would literally die without you because they forget their water bottles. So if you mob aren't there, exactly.
Honestly, but any highlights for you from the march?
Yeah, so my one of my big girls jumped on the banner with me this year. So big faces up the front, and I said, "Oh, who wants to carry the banner?" And one of the girls was like, "Yep, I'll jump on. So we got some pretty staunch photos of like me and her walking up. Thinking about like, who showed up and who didn't show up. It was really interesting this year. There was a lot of Murrays there, but it was a different, like there wasn't a lot of the usual crowd that usually shows up. So
Yes.
there might be something in what you're saying. Like there's a lot of mob that showed up that were the same as last year, but also there's a lot of like new people who like, oh yeah, this is my first time, but we still had like bigger numbers. So I'm hoping next year them same mob come and the old mob return back to it, like because
Can
it
come
was
back.
really,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, yeah, I was really proud of the turnout, and some things went sideways. We had people who were sick at the last minute, had some stuff going on. So some of the things we had planned that were like that atmosphere creating stuff, we sort of had to go on the fly with. But yeah, some of the proud moments, obviously doing it with my family again, and them being a lot more involved this year as they grow older and understand why we're marching and why it's important for us to stand up for our people. It's been really good for me to see that, and obviously my mum comes up every year, drives up and sits there and guards all our stuff
So
at the park
cute.
because she can't march. And this year she had some other non-Indigenous aunties there sitting
Stop.
along. So they're all sitting there in them tents waiting because we had stalls and
Yep.
everything set up. And so they're all sitting there in the stalls.
Someone's got to do
guarding
that
it.
bit of it, right? Everyone pulls their job, and there's someone at every little quarter, and I appreciate all the people,
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. All those little things get it done because without them, who knows
Yeah.
what the mob would do to our. Because we got
Exactly.
food, everything there. They'd just they'd be gone. So
No, that's mad. That's so good. Any good signs? I know you said you made a sign, but just quietly.
my sign wasn't good.
Was it as
My
good
sign
as
wasn't
mine?
good. My sign, I don't like. I started doing this banner 3 years ago, and now I think I
Stop.
just do it because like it's part of the thing. Like we all
Yeah.
had our handprints. It's all like deadly, but. Yeah, like I'm the gammonest artist with the least
Bless.
creativity. It's just like block letters on a big white thing, and then people with the handprints on it. So by the end of the day, it looks good.
Yeah.
But when I get there, it looks like a preschooler has just made a sign and asked for people to draw on it. I'm like, this is a shame, but you
teachers.
know what? Yeah, this is a shame, but So I'm not going to claim any
Yeah.
deadlier signs, unfortunately, unlike you.
Look, my sign, you know what? Mine started late because I thought about it the other day. I was like, I need to make signs, right? And then me and Dougsy one late that afternoon took my dogs to the park, and I saw some like leftover placards from like a market, some type of market that was in the neighborhood. And I was like, oh, should I just steal those and like paint over it? And I'm like, nah, probably shouldn't steal people's placards. Probably shouldn't do that. So I'm like, stuff it. I'll just go to Bunnings. So I went to Bunnings, was like 5 minutes away. And then I'm like, oh, damn it, what am I going to do? What am I going to put on the placard? So in the last couple of years, I had some pretty iconic signs. I had one that was like them Happy Australia Day, and then it said mob in your hole. So that was
Yeah, that's
one.
right. Yeah.
And I had that for years, and I had another one as well. And last year I had to retire them because they were in the back of the car, and the dogs like jumped all over them, and there was just like rips all through them. So I was like, okay, I got to do new signs this year. So late the day before January 26th, your girl's out looking around. Okay, can I just tell you, these signs cost me $160 in the end.
What? $160.
This is ADHD, bro. Okay, let me tell
Oh
you.
my goodness!
Let me tell
You
you.
can pay somebody
I
to
know.
make them for 100.
But don't worry about it because
Okay.
I'm going to charge next year. If you want me to make signs for you, mob, and meme signs, then I'm your girl and I'll be charging for them. But no, Doogie, you know why? Because I got it in my head. I was like, okay, I know what I want. I want this. And look, I got to come up with the memes still. You know what I mean? I'm still coming up with the memes.
You got to
It's
bring
what
the
I do.
fire. You can't just have the little gammon preschool sign like me.
I could have just wrote, always was, always will be. I could have done a really great stock standard. Would have been nothing wrong with that sign. But you know me, I get it in my head and I'm like, oh, yep. I knew I wanted to have a Stephen Oliver face on it. Like I needed a what's this then
Yeah.
slut. I needed that.
Definitely.
Okay.
You got to have the lad. You got to have the lad on there.
So I needed something. So I was like, what can I do? So I came up with the idea of, Peter Dutton this couple of past few weeks saying there's only one Australian flag, and that was like his thing. And I put the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flag for those that haven't seen it and said, well, what's this then, slut? A reference to black comedy, obviously, and Stephen Oliver's face on it. And I thought, yep, that's it. The lengths that I go to, okay? You got to understand, I got to make his face bigger than it already
Yeah.
is. Shout out Stephen
Yeah.
Oliver. And I had to like cut his face in half, print one side of the face, print the other side, so it was like a bigger A3 size. This is what I get
my
halfway
goodness.
through it, halfway through the first one, ink runs out for the second part of his face. No more ink. I'm running around on a friggin' Saturday night. This is my life.
Saturday night.
I thought Officeworks was going to be open. False. Bunnings closed. JB Hi-Fi closed. Nothing. I'm looking for ink. 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday. This is how single I am. Okay.
The day before a public holiday.
The day before a public holiday. Anyway, I went to Woolies. I'm standing in Woolies for like 20 minutes trying to find the alternative ink for my printer. I ended up buying it $160 later, Bruss. And
Wow.
come home and printed it out, did the painting, and they were a hit. So
I saw your signs on
Yeah.
at least 10 different people's
Mad.
stories.
that's mad.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she couldn't just have a sign. Like
Couldn't
she was like,
just-
oh, I've got to
yeah.
go viral one. I can't just.
Yeah, no, can't just do a normal sign. Got a big note, Speaking of big noting, shout out to Alicia, former host of Them Yarns, who took credit for my sign all day that I made.
No, she didn't.
She did. I gave
she
it to
didn't.
her. The whole time she went up the front, so she trumped my
course she did.
sign because you pushed in front of me. So her sign gets seen first, which is my sign anyway, but she's holding it, bruh. Just like she fully gaslighted my sign.
She's deadly, yeah.
She's not bad,
She's like, oh, where's this news camera? Here we
She's
go.
so gammon. And you know what? She was holding the one that said Captain Cook found Australia, and then underneath it says his old, right? And that's
that one. That's
the one that she was holding. And so she's telling everyone, yeah, I made this last night. I was up all night making.
Wow.
Bro,
Oh,
my $160 like you. I'm like, give me the goddamn sign. It was funny. It was actually really fun. It was a cool day. Just seeing all the different speeches and all different signs, all the kids. Like, there's a part in Brisbane where all the kids like run up the last bit of the hill to Musgrave Park, and it's like a race. They do it every year, and along with the dances and stuff. So good seeing, familiar faces in the crowd and some new ones. And yeah, it was a good day. Although I will say there was a feeling, right, when we were walking, my friend and I were walking we parked in South Bank and we walked over the new bridge to the casino, over to where the rally is in Queen's Park. And there were no blackfellas. There were like
Wow.
there was no one around. And this, like, we
Yeah.
were a little bit late, so we knew the speeches had only just started. Remember, we called that.
that's the next question I was about to ask.
What
Yes, you
time did I
answered
get
it.
there? Yeah.
Yes.
About 45 minutes into the speeches already starting, and that only just started. So I got there about an hour later, and that only just started. Thank you. Called it.
I should clarify. I had to apologise to people because we put an hour early because on the Sunshine Coast nobody likes to be on time. So we said, everybody get here at 9 o'clock so we could march at. We think we'll march
Yeah.
at 10. And these deadly Maori mob rocked up. Had the what's the
The
staff
stair.
they have?
Yep.
Had the staff and they had the flags and stuff. And they were they were tourists from out of town. They just heard this and they said, oh, they're like blackfellas supported us for our marches and stuff.
Yep.
So we want to support you back. And we're just
nice.
here on holiday. And they were there at 8:30, ready to march at 9. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. We just did this because blackfellas on the Sunshine Coast are never on time. And the lady started laughing. She's like, that's exactly how it is back home. Like, we're going to tell this mob 2 hours. Oh, she didn't say this mob, but we're going to tell these people 2 hours before the thing starts and hope they get there an hour before and hope that we can actually start on time.
Start on time.
Yeah, so we had the biggest laugh because I was like, I've just rocked up getting ready to set up. And they had the flag. They were like waving. They saw me like, yeah, brother. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to apologize. You're way too early. Like, I'm the first
Shame.
person here I'm just trying to set up. Like, oh, they were like, help me set up and everything. I was
That's so nice.
d-
See, all brown people running late. But I think it's also Sunny Coast people in general, right? This is beach life. Everyone's just like super lazy. Mm-hmm. Don't.
Sorry to all the mob who were on time.
Well, look, I got there a bit late because I was like, there's no point. It's 1,000,000 degrees hot. Light skin matters, as we said. And I got there a bit late. But it was weird walking over to the actual Queen's Park from South Bank, and there were no blackfellas around. Usually on Invasion Day, you see mob. They're parking. They're all walking in the same direction. Bruh, there was no one. It was like me and my friend, and we were like just like feeling real out of place. And that every other Migaloo person that was walking past. Because I was holding my signs, I could see them like breaking their neck trying to read my signs. Right?
Trying to
'Cause
read the sign.
I just had them on my arm while I was walking, and they were like trying to read it, and then like the faces of disgust, like, because I'm decked out, you know, I'm red, black, and yellow. I've got the red, black, and yellow earrings. I've got the flag. They've got the thing. They're looking at me like I am just enemy 101. And I was just like, yeah, this is Invasion Day. So the feeling was a bit different because it's usually safety in numbers, right? On Invasion Day, we're all together. We feel empowered. And when you're kind of like by yourself, the before and after of Invasion Day is when you start to feel the racism of the
before
day.
and after is wild, and I obviously had not remembered anything because I go early and help set up right at the park where we're going to end up. We set the tents up, we set the mics and stuff up, and these non-Indigenous fellas were there, and they'd been drinking since like 6:30.
Oh my God.
But they're already there drinking whatever they're drinking, Great Northerns, 6:30, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be interesting. Like they were sitting right next to where we were going to set up, and people are always there. But we start putting up Aboriginal flags, Torres Strait Islander flags, the tents, everything, and slowly they get the idea and they have their breakfast and they move away. These fellas are like, oh, what are you guys doing? I'm like, oh, we're having a march. He's like, on Australia Day. I'm like, yeah. It's, oh, how many people show up to that? I'm like, well, there'll be about 300 people standing where you are right now. He's like, F off. That's a big crowd. I'm like, no, that's just where you are. There's going to be another few hundred people here. And the lad, he's like, oi, there's going to be hundreds of people here. He was one of the ones that were like, they were all drinking. Then when we started dancing and doing speeches and stuff, he was standing there like nodding his head and
was
like,
like
you've been
getting
drinking
into
since 6:30 and now you're getting into it like you're part of the anti-Gen 26 thing. You know, you're literally here with the Australian flag, board shorts on, no shirt on, sunburnt, like clapping along when we're doing like clap your hands and stuff. I'm just looking at the lad like, how confused are you right now? But could have went really bad. It's a group of like 5 or 6 of them, all men drinking, and one lad just come over and just started joining in like it was
Part of
totally
it.
normal. Just sitting next to people like bobbing his head. I'm like, what?
It's so strange because there was a part of the after, so we were all in Musgrave Park, and I was going up the back, and I was talking to like one of the auntie there, and we were standing up, and this ute, like I spotted this ute, right, and like I come from North Queensland, so I know a
Always
bogan ute.
We know the ute.
It's a cruiser, 100%, and I come from the land of cruisers, so I'd recognise a bogan racist ute when I see one, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And sure enough, in the back of the ute, a huge Australian flag flapping in the wind, right? And they're like windows down, music blasting. Could be anywhere in Brisbane, and they want to circle Musgrave Park. You know, went past, just boganing. And, you know, I may or may not have chucked up some symbols. It wasn't just me. The auntie did it first. I was like, auntie did it first. I'm allowed to do it after.
You got to follow your elders.
Yeah, you have to follow. She led by example. But it was clearly like a taunting, you know what I mean? It was a racist taunt to drive around, do laps of Musgrave Park with an Australian flag, hanging out, just being idiots, you know what I mean? Like everyone there in the park is peaceful.
How's that your life? Yeah, like how's that your life though?
How's that your life? Get a life, bro. Seriously.
How are you celebrating? How are you celebrating on that day? Like by doing that? Like what makes you? Speaking of respecting of your elders, the one incident we had was this old white fella on his motorized scooter.
Oh no! Did he have the Australian flag at the back?
Yeah, no, he had like multiple Australian flags, so he was putting flags up everywhere,
God.
and he was getting wild. He was getting wild because he saw the Aboriginal flags and stuff, and he's like, "I've served in my country," and one lad's like,
dear.
The lad he was yelling at was like, "I'm a vet too. I'm a police vet. I'm an army vet." And the lad then got angry. He's like, "What are you here supporting them for?" He's like,
wow.
Because I want to be. Anyway, this lad kept going, and then he got out of his scooter because the police and that rocked up. Then he walked up like he was gonna like walk into the middle because I'm standing on the mic talking.
Yeah.
And he's walking like straight, like he's gonna walk through the middle of everybody.
Wow.
And so I've motioned to the police like, yeah, like look at this fella here.
Come get him.
and they let him go like, oh no, you lucky. And then it took like a black fella like standing up and saying, mate, like clearly this is not your party. Then he started arcing up like he's just waiting for somebody to bite on him. And then they jumped in and removed him for his own safety. But yeah,
wow.
he was only arcing up at women and children. He wasn't arcing up at men until that one black fella went and got in his face and said, "Hey, like we don't want to fight you."
Everyone's peaceful, right? It was funny to watch the coverage of Jan 26 in Brisbane, the coverage in the newspapers, it was like peaceful protesters protesting again, which is so unusual, right? Because in the past, and we've always seen it, blackfellas are labelled as it was an angry march, it was an angry crowd. But we were literally
And they
so
always
like,
try to find like the littlest
Yep.
bit of anger, and that's when they show that one black fella like giving the finger.
Yep.
They don't show the 10,000 black fellas like raising their fists or anything. It's
Yep.
always the one angry bit.
the one angry
So-
bit, right? And we always have to be on our best behavior just in case, like, we're the ones that end up on, the screen. But this year, like, the coverage was like peaceful protesters and then, angry, like, Australia Day supporters. It was the other way around, which was really interesting to see. It was nice, actually. Nice change.
And I think I said that last week, right? Like if we did change the date, like what would their marches look like?
Right?
Like you can guarantee like not 10,000 people are going to show up on Jan 27 and be like, change the date. Like they don't actually care that much, except for like the 10 racist people who are like, it's always was, always will be.
Yeah.
But sorry, old people. I'm not very good at accents. I'll stop doing it from now on.
Terrible. There was one guy came up to me and another brother boy was standing up there watching the speeches, and this guy seen him, you can always tell the dodgy ones that are lost. Like they've wandered into like the march and they're like,
Somewhere, what is
is
going on?
Especially in Brisbane because there's so many tourists, and the Luke Combs concert was on as well in Brisbane this weekend.
That's
So
a great
that
combination.
weekend.
That's
So
a
you
great
can
combination
imagine
of people.
all the people from the country who love Luke Combs with their what do they wear? What's those shoes? R&M Williams. They've got the
Yeah.
cowboy hat, so you can clearly tell they're from out of town. They've come to the city from wherever they've come from to watch Luke Combs, and they've just been there for the long weekend. All of a sudden, next to their hotel, some angry black
There's
fellas
the
in the
biggest
park.
march. Yeah,
and
they're
their
like, yeah,
faces.
and
So
they wouldn't
funny.
see black fellas usually. Like when you walk through the city, it's really rare to see somebody
Mm-hmm.
that has like an Aboriginal shirt on or looks First Nation.
Yeah.
Like that connection. Every time I see it, I'm like, hey, brother, or like,
Yeah.
hey, sis, how you going? You're like real happy. So for tourists, that would be the most black people they would have seen in one spot. For someone,
Especially
you know what I mean?
Luke Combs supporters. I feel like it's
Luke
a very,
Combs supporters.
very wide
They've seen some black
crowd.
fellas. They've seen some
Yep.
black fellas at footy, but
Mm-hmm.
not nowhere like that.
I saw these three fellas. Let me describe them to you. They look like where I grew up, right? They look like Tableland
no.
boys. So they had like their jeans halfway down their holes, and they had like football shirts on, like like a supporter t-shirt. So they had that on. One of them was wearing like truckers hats, and they're just
Yep.
sloppy as hell. They've got thongs on. They're walking through the city, clearly just trying to like go and have breakfast or something. And they're looking at us, and we were crossing the road, and they're like, their face was like screwed up, and they're like looking like, what's going on? Like
They couldn't process it.
their brains couldn't process, and they look
Yeah.
so bad, like they wanted to say something. And I was like, please, dude, today is the day, bruh. Say it.
Of all the
Nothing.
days you want to say something, today is it.
Today is it. You think they said anything? They didn't say nothing. They all didn't squeeze. There was one guy though. He was walking and he came up to me and a brother boy, and I see him, and I thought, oh, this fella looks a little bit like mental health or drugs or both.
Okay.
But I could also be wrong. It is Australia Day and there are some racists out. So he comes walking through, and he's walking through slowly, and he's walking up the hill, and he walks through, and he just pulls up beside me and my brother boy, out of the whole crowd, and goes, what's this got to do with Australia Day? I just don't understand it. I'm like,
Of course. Yeah. Oh yeah. Come to me. With,
out of all
I
the
look
people.
like the person you want to talk to.
Out of all the people. And my brother boy's like, mate, like if you go and sit down and listen, you'll find out. And I'm like, not the one. I'm like, I'm not
No.
it, bruh. You better keep walking. Like, I'm like, nah, today ain't the day, cuz. Like, don't get the light skin twisted. Like, keep it moving.
We're not educating for free today. Sorry.
And then, like, I just stopped engaging because I could tell straight away, oh, no, he's not.
He's not aware.
He's not a Blair. So I just was like, no, Carly, not the time to be, like, arguing with the races. So, yeah. But, a few incidences like that do happen. And I think people just don't realise. You don't see this on the news, you know what I mean? But these are the
No, that's right.
interactions that
No.
happen. There's always something funny, right, at a major
Always.
day.
It's all like it's one of the because like you were saying last week, like the highs and lows.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so emotional, and then sometimes I think that makes things funnier because you're so emotional about something else.
Everything, there's always something funny at at Invasion Day, whether it's before, after, between. I was at the end in Musgrave Park, and they had free, food. They had sausage sizzles and all that kind of stuff. So my friend and I grabbed a sausage sizzle. We grabbed a sausage. I was trying to hide it. You know what I mean? I was trying I was trying to walk with it beside my leg, like so no one else seen that I was carrying a sausage. The sausage sizzle. So I'm walking, and I walk past these aunties, right? And they were sitting up in this tent, and they're like looking down. I said, "Oh, hello." I said, "Did you just mom grab a feed there or what?" And they reckon, "Yeah, we grabbed the feed. We love a sausage." I was like, "Church." That was it. Then we were like, hey, they reckon, "Here, sister girl, you love that sausage." I was like, "Yup, yeah." So we were just like, yeah, there's like 10 minutes difference between us. So I'll be like, "Up, yeah."
Yeah, that's totally.
And then I reckon, "Here, you better chew it too, freaking church." Like just yelling out, just stupid. Blackfellas just can't, we can't, I don't know these people. I don't know them. They don't know me.
No,
we're just yelling out.
that's right.
And then eating that sausage. I made sure I was up against the tree, so no one can see me. It's and then you got to eat the sausage sideways. There's just certain things you can't do around black people. Eating sausages in a black event, it's not one of them.
I just eat it now. I'm too
care.
hungry.
We did this in the Doogie debate. Can you eat sausages around blackfellas? You said you could.
I
clearly
said,
can't.
You clearly can't.
What was your funny moment?
So we're marching. Like I said, we go through celebrations, right? So there's always one or two that are a bit cranky because we're ruining their day, telling them about genocide. No pride in genocide, blah blah blah.
Stop ruining it.
And there's this old group of old people, they're having a little picnic on one of the little side benches. And Auntie, she had an plastic Australian flag thing made in China for $2, but she's trying to she pulled it out like them waiters, so they held the food and everything there so she could pull the thing out. And she's sitting there dancing with this plastic flat Australian flag tablecloth. And she thought she was real deadly. She was 70. I'm talking
so
auntie.
She was trying to chuck it in people's
trying to
faces.
go,
Okay.
Dancing Australia, Australia,
Yuck.
oi, oi, oi. And because nobody's responding to her, she was getting closer and closer. I'm like, "Auntie, you're going to get your hip broken because you're going to get in somebody's way." And I'm just get out of the way, please. But it was so funny because she thought she was real, like she was making the point. I'm like, there's nearly 1,000 people behind me. And you're one old lady dancing with a plastic tablecloth that you bought at Woolies for $2 that's made in China. You really think this is,
But this is
and
the
it's a
dot,
bit intimidating
right?
for the kids. Yeah, it's a bit intimidating for the kids. But then she's and then one lady just went and stood in front of her, and she couldn't get around her. She was that slow. She was trying to but she couldn't
dance around her.
She was trying to dance around her, but the lady just stood there with her hands out sideways, and she was.
It's too
this
much.
is how old Auntie was. It was too much. She just was dancing behind her Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi.
She just
and
gave
all the
up.
old people, all the old people there were just looking at her how
Enjoy
do you
your
have this much energy?
Lamingtons.
That is sipping tea when it with her.
Beryl,
And
sit
she's
down.
sitting there Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. But that just took one person standing in front of her, and that was Auntie's kryptonite. She's like, "Oh no, now I've got to move." She couldn't.
Who knew that all it would take is two arms to be held out, and you gave up? Yeah. Oh, could you
So
imagine?
shout out to the ally who was like, "Oh, this is going to be uncomfortable for the kids," seeing an auntie up there. So
Oh
they
dear.
got in front of her, and
Yeah, it's pretty sad, but that's Australia Day for you. People really get just super passionate about keeping something that's really not that old.
No.
Anyway, so we'll see how next year goes. The thing is, right, it's it's so tiring. Now we got 365 days of silence before you can all hate each other again. It's just stupid. It's so dumb.
Just dumb.
I'm so
just
over
change it.
Right, do something, anything. I do though want to talk about something that I saw online.
Here we go.
Well, last week we talked about the Hear Me Out episode, and at the march actually, I saw Sister Girl Lala Bales, and who was on the panel, and Lala said they edited us extremely crazy,
Of course they did.
Of course they did. It's 30 minutes television for a conversation. Let me play you something real quick that I think you're going to like. Now, we talked about tea time, We talked about tea time. Let's make this our first tea time. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
A little bit of tea every week. I'm going to spill the tea. Put a little bit of tea every week. That's the new intro for tea time. Shout out to Courage over in New Zealand for he's basically like the unofficial producer of them yarns, so I have to give the shout out. Shout out to Courage for the new Tea Time intro. We love it. So Tea Time this week is about blackfellas who celebrate Australia Day. And that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it Australia Day because that's what they're celebrating, yeah?
That is what they're celebrating. That's correct.
What are your thoughts? Give it to me. Go.
I can see why certain people of a certain privilege would do that.
Okay.
I rarely see people without privilege being in that space and being like, oh yeah, I just love Australia. So you're either conservative or you come from a place of like extreme privilege where you haven't actually had to fight for blackfellas before, and so you don't see the problem with it.
It was like a classism, you think? Like a class?
Classism.
Yeah.
It's definitely a classism for me. So that's pretty much the two different ways I see it. It's people who are internalizing racism against blackfellas and they don't want to be seen to be different from whitefellas, or they're super privileged and never had to fight for blackfellas before, so they don't understand why we're marching. You're not edgy, bruh. You're just gammon.
You're not edgy. You're not patriotic. You're none of those things. You're just gammon.
No.
Oh, here's the flip of the coin. What if it's somebody who is a black fella who's with a white person and they all celebrate Australia Day? What then?
Wow.
Yeah, let that sink in. Like, what if you're raised black, right? You're raised black.
And
then you meet somebody and they celebrate Australia Day and like you're like in their family now and you're just like, yep, well, I guess I'm celebrating Australia. And instead of like going against it, you're like, well, yeah, like we're all together now. Like, what do you think of that?
The
headache.
It literally burns my brain. Like, that is exactly what happens for some people, I guess. You know, like you see they fall in love and they don't want to upset the apple cart. So they go along with the ignorance rather than actually standing up for what they believe in, which is sad. But
I want to know, like, because you've got a wife and she's not Indigenous. Like, what if you had married her? And bless her, she's not like this at all. But what if you had married her into her family? Just say, hypothetically, and her family were Australia Day loving people, and you are born black. You're very unapologetically black. What would you have done? Let's pretend it's not your wife.
It's somebody else. And
you married into it.
I can't marry into it. Like, I just can't.
Would you break up with the girl? Is that what you're saying? Like, once you found out?
We wouldn't get to that stage. Yeah, I'm not getting to the stage where I'm putting a ring on somebody's finger within a year. I would have known before then. And it would have to be the most amazing bomb diggity everything's to even then
to stay.
I'd be like, well, it was nice, thank you.
Oh yeah,
maybe next time.
Well, okay,
I can't do it. How about you? What, like, reverse flip side? You've been single for a little while now, and
how dare you?
You
First
meet
of all,
this
you're
man
correct.
online. you meet this man online. He's lovely. He's funny. He's everything. And then December 25th, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing next month?" You're like, "Oh, nothing." Like, well, you want to give me my family? We're having a big Australia Day barbecue on Sydney Harbour Bridge where we're millionaires and we just like to party on, cupcakes and lemingtons.
And there's an Australia Day flag on the cake. Yeah, like, okay, yeah. What would I do? Okay, how hot is this person, first of all? Give me an example.
That's what I'm saying. He's a multi-millionaire, half whatever breed you like that has all the things.
No, please tell me what my type's like. Okay, here we go. What's my type? Come on, Nagus. You've known me for 15 years. What is it?
There's some sort of caramel version of whatever race they are that makes them some sort of mix where they're caramelish, and they have some sort of different color eyes, and they have some sort of muscle tone. And if that person was a multimillionaire and was the love of your life in 3 months, hello, you post them on Instagram every second day. It's not like it's hard to know.
Liar. No, you know what? This is an inside joke. Okay, my sister girl Cody, She always said, "Oh, gee, you got a type." This is what she says to me. "Gee, you got a type." She's been saying it to me for years. And so I always post Instagram reels or whatever with like hot guys, and I'll go, "I don't have a type, also me," and then I'll post it.
Also
so
me,
that's what Aaron is referring to. It's not me posting all these men that I know, because as you can clearly see in here, there's so many of them lining up.
Exactly. Anyway, so this lad that you've been posting, is, cutting firewood with his fingers. That's how
it's
strong
Lenny.
he is.
It's Lenny Kravitz. Okay?
It's Lenny Kravitz. It's Lenny Kravitz with bigger muscles. Also, he's not black. He's white in some sort of international mix. So
Okay. So we're talking. Okay. It's let's go Ryan
Spanish
Gosling.
or something.
God, no. It would still have to be a no. I couldn't just sit in a park with someone being raised black. I can't sit there with your family while you have Australia Day cakes and you're talking about, you're waving an Australian flag. I can't get amongst that. I don't care how hot you are. It's not happening. It just is, it's weird. But can I flip it? So here's the tea as well. I want to flip it. So here's an article that I found this week online around obviously the January 26th date. This is the article grab. Okay, this is a title. This is what they put out. It's on Facebook. It came out. It's like it was like a quote from it, and the girl says, "I used to think January 26th was a celebration. Then I met my husband."
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, and then the actual title underneath the article is, "I discovered while interacting with his family, not much had changed from the olden days." And it's a picture of a white girl and a black fella. Okay, a black guy. Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
that's the flip story of the story that we just did. Okay, so girl's coming to black family. She's grown up, obviously, celebrating Australia Day. Like she said, "I used to think it was a celebration, and then I met my black husband."
It's, what is it? The cultural injection. Good on her. She flipped the page. She learnt the lesson.
Does she have to write an article though?
She doesn't have to write. She doesn't have to publicize it. She just can support it without making it about her. And I think we've seen other Indigenous sports stars partners, make some money or publicity out of supporting First Nations rights and not really supporting First Nations people to have that say, but saying it themselves. So
using the platform.
Using the platform given to them by marrying into the culture and not really making that space for the mob to actually have it. I applaud that she can change her mind. I think that's a beautiful thing.
That's cute. Very diplomatic of you. I feel like that when I read that article, I was like, what that tells me is that you have a certain white privilege that you're like, well, people will listen to me, but they won't listen to my husband. So if my husband were to write this, no one's going to listen to him because he's black fella. So I'll write it and talk about it used to be a celebration, but listen to me, guys. He's changed my mind. I'm now on the side, everything's all good. And it's usually these ones that hook up with black fellas and like, I can't talk, but I love a white boy. You know what I mean? I'll be the first one to say it. I've dated white, black, Spanish, Latino, Mexicano. I've been to Europe, Spain.
Stop.
Do you know what I mean? So I can't talk. I'm not saying, but it's usually these ones like, it'd be like me, right, going to Spain or it'd be like me going over to the States and going like, I thought it was bad in Mexico, but now, like, you just wouldn't. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's just cringe. Like, as a black woman, you see it, just let your man speak. Why are you writing articles?
That makes sense. Like, I think, like I said, I think it's about making space, like using that privilege to make space for mob to have the word. And it's great that you've made that change. And it's awesome that you're able to see, change your mind, because not everybody can do that, even when presented with the facts. So I really appreciate that somebody can change their mind, but also, like, how are we making space for the people you're talking about to have that voice?
Mm-hmm. And this is a major, I won't say which news article it came from or which media outlet it came from, but it's pretty big, and it's usually known for, Migaloo women to have their say on lots of topics. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So, yes, in future, if you're listening and you think you've worked out who it is, maybe give it to a black girl to have a say, or a black man about Australia Day.
Or co-collaborate.
Or co-collaborate.
If you don't have to write all the article yourself. If you're worried that they're not going to listen to them because they're black, like, there's nothing wrong with just sharing it. Like, you don't have to take. It doesn't have to be all about you.
I don't even think it was
Does that make sense?
I think it was the fact that she just proud. and she just wants to tell everyone that it's not a celebration anymore. I'm with the black man.
Look,
You changed my mind.
I get it.
The
but,
Buddha must have been good, is all I'm going to say.
That's exactly why they change over.
Bruh, I'm not even going to go
Reconciliation isn't dead.
No,
Right? Sorry,
it
Lake
is
Crombie.
in lots of
We're bringing
ways.
it back.
Wake
bringing
up,
it back.
sis.
Reconciliation isn't dead. We all love each other. Okay.
You want to
So,
get, I'm
sorry
telling you
about
right now.
that. Yeah.
I think we'll end the ep on that. Reconciliation
Yes.
may be still alive.
Reconciliation, it's still alive. It's still alive with some little places in our hearts. It might be dead out.
It's dead in my
everywhere
heart, but in your heart, it's still
We got
going.
to stick together. We got to be there.
Aaron, the reconciliation champion. Anyway, that's it for them yarns. Make sure you give us a follow. Thanks, brother. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you very much. Catch you then. Yo.